Hokage, Uchiha Prodigy unlocks ultimate analysis system. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 1. Hey, I didn't expect that I would actually cross into the Hokage world and become a little fart of the Uchiha family. Spread hands. Konoha Village, Uchiha Station, on the roof of a remote building, a handsome, lazy-looking little Shota, muttered helplessly with a look of pain. The little fart boy's name is Uchiha Yen. He is the grandson of the great elder of the Uchiha family. Whether it is the purity of blood or the talent of appearance, he is the top in the clan. No, this kid skipped the daily training session again and ran to the southern tribal land to be lazy. Remembering his pedantic and old-fashioned cheap grandfather, Uchiha snorted arrogantly and contemptuously from his nose. Cut. What shit daily training class? Xiaoyi is so young. Just go to exercise hard. Is it the same as the weasel that too stunned? A dark wound is good? Don't you see how many protagonists are weak into dogs in the early stage, and reckless into balls in the later stage? I'm a fool to listen to you. I Ujibo Realmze can't even cultivate even if I kill it. Humph. But compared to cultivation, this pit wall system is the most abominable. No way, this system that has just been bound through is really too pitted. Dog then system, give labor and management out. Didn't you say that you can pass the beginner's test period today and use it officially? Why hasn't it moved until now? Looking at the ball of light in his mind, Uchiha was angry. He still remembers the boiling joy when he heard the system binding prompt sound in his head when he just crossed over. However, goose is not of any use for eggs. Don't ask is cooling. Gas. What a gas. Finally, when a certain spray was fired yesterday, the answer of the dog system finally changed. Therefore, even if tomorrow is the most important annual assessment of the new generation of the Uchiha family, today's training is urgent training before the assessment. Uchiha Yen still does not blush and his heart does not beat, and he is bright. Boom. The ball of light in his mind, in a casual moment, suddenly burst out of bright light, and then, bloomed. This is what it is? Looking at the system interface that suddenly popped up, and the prompt tone that suddenly appeared, Uchiha Hiko's eyes widened more and more. Poof. Uchiha felt that his blood pressure was a little unbearable, and he wanted to spurt out a mouthful of old blood. Calm down, calm down. Uchiha took several breaths, and finally eased up and didn't himself off. Dogbei, tell me about your features. Dear host, do you want to change the name of this system to the dog system? Calm down. Oh? Can you also parse the art of the fireball? Uchiha Hiko, who was originally angry and had liver pain, heard the explanation of the system, and his eyes suddenly lit up. He is only 6 years old at present, even because of the grandson of the great elder. He has only learned the 3-body technique in total, as well as the art of how fireball and the thunder fireworks. Moreover, because of his young age and insufficient amount of chakra, basically put a ninjutsu, and the blue amount is emptied, not only is the power weak, but the consumption is also large. Because of this, he was often complained of as a weak chicken by the bad old man at home. So Uchiha Hiko's heart was very excited to hear that the system could help him fully master and perfect the art of the fireball. System, how can it be parsed? At this time, Uchiha Jizawa-san had completely forgotten that he was facing the system he had sprayed for 6 years, and his face was almost written with real fragrance. Dear host, you only need to put the transaction that needs to be parsed into the parsing bar. Since you are currently a non-mainstream ninja, only one parsing bar can be opened. Each time the host increases its level, an additional parsing bar is opened. The time to parse the item depends on the complexity of the thing you want to parse. After listening to the explanation of the system, Uchiha also understood. It turns out that it will be enough to put it directly into the panel. There are 2 system panels that the light ball transformed just now. One is his own data panel, and the other is something similar to the inventory in the game, empty. It seems to be put into the analysis bar of analyzing things. Let's look at my data first. There were 2 panels in total, and Uchiha looked at his personal data first. Name, Uchiha Hiko. Chakra level, not in the flow, not into the stream, /lower shinobi /elite lower shinobi /everyone /elite middle shinobi upper shinobi /elite upper shinobi quasi shadow level shadow level shadow level shadow level quasi 6 Dao level 6 Dao level. Spirit level, Naka Shinobi, learned ninjutsu, fireball art, C-grade ninjutsu, thunder fireworks, C-level ninjutsu. Sure enough, the amount of chakra is small, so it is not in the flow, and the physical strength is not trained hard because of the fear of leaving dark injuries, so it does not reach the level of lower tolerance. Only spiritual power, because of the passage, has reached the level of middle patience. So, next, try the parsing function. Uchiha Hiko's eyes are getting brighter and brighter, and he seems a little impatient. At the moment when done fireworks was dragged into the analysis bar, a system prompt sounded. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host, C-level ninjutsu done fireworks. Start the analysis. It takes time. 1 day. Episode 2. Done fireworks. As the name suggests, its shape resembles fireworks. The difficulty of learning this ninjutsu is C. Although its formation is not as strong as the art of how fireball, the actual combat killing is simple and rude. Bang in front of you and it's over. The speed of lightning is quite fast, and the cone range in front of it is not small, not considering the situation of hitting people. If you really face that kind of extreme speed type ninja, then there is no need to make a move, wait for death. This is quite useful for tomorrow's family test. Looking at the system's one-day parsing time, Uchiha was satisfied. I smiled proudly. Jumping off the roof, he is now overjoyed, full of energy, planning to go to the training ground to practice his physical skills again. As soon as he walked to the training ground, he smelled the fragrance. Today's steak, what a fragrance! The basic physical training is practiced on this steak, with one punch and one kick. Skills and physical fitness he does not consider now. How effective can a 6-year-old body train? What he has to practice now is fast and ruthless, and the endurance of his fists and feet. Can't punch out, your fist hurts first. I took out the fingerless protective gloves that were cheap from the cutting gear store from my bag, put them on, and dried them against the steak. Hey! Drink, punch by punch and punch for fun. Early the next morning, Uchiha was woken up by a prompt from the system. Ding dong, prompt the host, C-level ninjutsu lay done, fireworks, analysis completed. I'll go. This also automatically sets an alarm for me. Yesterday, I was too tired from practicing physical arts, and I fell asleep with my head turned upside down. I woke up in a daze, and felt like I was stuffed with a lot of information in my head. What changes in the attributes of Thunder Chakra? What is the general principle of Thunder Done Ninjutsu? What is the timing of ninjutsu release? In short, you can come up with a ninjutsu textbook. It turns out that this is the analysis. He quickly ran to the bathroom to ice his face with cold water and suddenly sobered up. When I think about it, the knowledge in my mind flows out naturally. It's a pretty good feeling, like the Olympiad problem in front of you yesterday, which today has become a math problem for the 3rd grade of elementary school. C-level lay done ninjutsu is not difficult to say, and it is not simple to say. Being able to learn and use it is already an excellent ninja. However, in his current feelings, this so-called C-level difficulty Thunder Ninjutsu was as natural and skilled as reaching out and getting dressed. If eating is a human instinct, then he has now mastered this C-level Thunder Ninjutsu to this extent. It's not just lay done, Hanabi. I also have a new insight into the complex ninjutsu that I want to vomit when I see it on those scrolls. Thousands of questions come from the motif. When he thoroughly understood the truth contained in this Thunder Ninjutsu, he laid an extremely solid foundation, and he could naturally see through the same type of Thunder Ninjutsu. Just as he was about to ask the Great Elder for a B-grade ninjutsu scroll, a Uchiha ninja suddenly appeared in the courtyard. Uchiha knew that person, and that person was the right and left of the Great Elder. Just listening, he respectfully spoke, Lord Yen, the family test is about to begin. Please be sure to prepare to go to the family trial ground. Got it? Uchiha replied, in fact, you don't need this person to remind you, he will also go. Full of knowledge, he has to test it in practice. Immediately, he quickly dressed and washed and looked in the mirror. In the mirror, he has crisp short hair. Unlike most of the humble hairstyles in the Uchiha clan, he looks old-fashioned. From today, the genius, after collecting some of the bitterness that would be used in the test, he walked towards the family trial ground. This year, there are not many Uchiha adult clansmen. There are 2 reasons for this. First, a few years ago, a hot blue man returned, a wave of crippled the original Hokage, and gave a set on fire, and soon died between the 1,000-hand pillars. Although the spicy blue man has long defected, someone still poured dirty water on the Uchiha family. Second, in the last war, under the leadership of the old fox in the 1,000-handed house, many young and middle-aged people died heroically. The original Uchiha is now a little stronger than the Hyuga clan. Now that it has calmed down, it is estimated that everyone is working hard to have children. The achievements of the younger generation have become their face. Hey, the lazy young man from the Great Elder's family has finally arrived. I'm glad I wasn't late today. Ahaha, it's good if Yen can come. Let's have fun. As soon as I arrived, I heard many dogs barking. Uchiha didn't care about that. Is this the passerby in the novel? It's funny enough. With the arrival of the personnel, in fact, at the same time of the test, there were only 12 people in total. The man who was the chief examiner walked out of the crowd. Looking at it, that face is a little familiar. Uchiha Kagami? He muttered softly. Uchiha Kagami is a 2nd-generation student, who has served as a 2nd-generation purposes guard, and his strength and prestige are the first in the clan. Is it overkill to let him be the chief examiner of a boring test? Just as he was wondering, the young Uchiha Kagami spoke. Already, no throwing test. 12 children quickly stood up in a row, some 2 or 3 years older than Uchiha Hiko, and deliberately stood in the middle. If nothing else, the older you are, the more you have contact with practice, and the results you show are naturally excellent. At that time, comparing up and down, it is the younger Uchiha who is ugly. Boy, don't miss the shot later, you can't even hit the target. Uchiha sneered sideways, looked at the target 20 meters away, and asked, have you ever heard of Lei Dun Kuwu? What bitterness? Do you still want to cheat? The art of bitterness is cultivated by hard work. Hehe, in a moment you will see it immediately. The chief examiner Uchiha Kagami frowned. This group of children, before they started, did not abide by discipline. It was difficult. As a last resort, he could only quickly announce the start of the test. Start on the left and throw in turn. Uchiha welding, start. Yes. a mushroom-headed brat should snort. Then, he took out his kunai, aimed at it, and threw it violently. Kuwu streaked quickly and nailed to the edge of the target. If you can hit, let's consider it qualified. Next, Uchiha Nightstring. This is a teenager with a lid head, who looks 2 or 3 years older than Uchiha Hiko. Can leave a pot lid in this family, in the hairstyle piece, originally called him the strongest. Boom. His bitterness was pinned precisely to the target's red heart. Out. It seems that among this group of passers-by, there is another one who can fight. Uchiha sighed. Soon, it was his turn to be the last. With his eyes fixed on the black iron kunai nailed to the red heart, he began to use the knowledge about Lei Dun in his mind. Lei Dun talent does not increase his accuracy, but it can improve the sharpness of Kuwu. What he has to do is not as simple as hitting a red heart to get a perfect score. After he was ready, he threw Kuwu out of his hand with bated breath. Episode 3. Hitting the bullseye from a distance of 20 meters, that is only a basic operation. Just like an enemy ninja 20 meters away, such a big lump of people, if you can't hit it, you can simply commit suicide. And hitting and killing are two different things. There is no past in the shoot. Hit the person and do not die. See if the person pierces you. The Kuwu attached to Lei Dun chakra cut through the long sky and pierced the red heart. Because there were not many people, and everyone present was a stroke master, although the 11 shots were nailed to the target, the examiner did not clean up. When Uchiha Hiko's Kumu carried a faint imperceptible thunder and lightning and stabbed at the red heart, the Kumu that was originally nailed to the red heart was immediately split in half. The bitterness of the black iron material is like plasticine pinched. Blessed with Lei Dun chakra's Kuwu, it is so sharp. The previous Kuwu was split in half, and immediately, his Kuwu pierced the red heart and pierced the target without suspense. Boom. Everyone looked at the black hole above the target and fell into a long silence. No one would write a 6-year-old's reaming skills, so they had no idea what was going on. I don't know the truth. A 6-year-old kid with such amazing arm strength? No, the child of the great elders family. How could that lazy and deadly child have that kind of arm strength? Even many people think that such a lazy guy is not qualified to be a ninja, but reality is already in front of them. Only the close-up examiner Uchiha Kagami witnessed the whole process. He was the elite of the clan. Even if he didn't open the chakra eye, his insight was not comparable to others. Lei Duan? He muttered, at such a young age, thunder and suffering will be put to use. This kid is too. Before he could come to his senses, he heard one of the examinees shouting, Uchiha Hiko cheats. He must be cheating. Yexianjin's bitterness must have pierced the bullseye. He just took advantage of it opportunistically. After all, it is a fairy tale. If you say it, everyone will fart it. All the seniors present were ninjas, and they knew the truth. Although the previous Kuwu of Uchiha Nightstring hit the bullseye, it was also crooked, and if you want to pierce the bullseye in that case, you need skills that you don't necessarily do. If you make a slight mistake, both kunai will fly. With raw force, it can actually be a little simpler. This is also the only reasonable explanation. It's just that. Everyone slowly turned their gaze to the 2 petals of Kuwu that fell to the ground. What kind of power can make the same material of Kuwu cut the former, like cutting tofu? Uchiha Kagami looked at the gazes of the people around him, silently hiding the words in his mouth. Afterwards, he said, the Kuno throwing test is over, and the ninjutsu test is next. Ninjutsu test, still in this field, but this time you have to stand in a row, not in a row. In the Uchiha clan, the signature ninjutsu is the art of the fireball. Those who have not learned this ninjutsu are embarrassed to participate in this family test. This time, Uchiha Kagami thief, he said, the first one, Uchiha Hiko, on. Why was the first one me? Uchiha Yen was also wondering. Just now he was the last, and this became the first in a blink of an eye. Will you be angry with those just now? There is no reason. You use ninjutsu against the stone tablet in front. Let me Kong how well you practice your how fireball art. I don't like fire. Uchiha is an honest person. If you don't like it, you don't like it. There is one thing to say. The hit rate is always a mysterious fire ninjutsu. Just play it and play. There is no need to practice as a natal cultivation. Hearing this, the corner of Uchiha Kagami's mouth twitched. One of the signature of the Uchiha family is fire ninjutsu. This kid actually said that he didn't like it? Forget it, use your most skilled ninjutsu, against the stone tablet in front of you. Uchiha nodded and cast his gaze on the large, pitch-black stone tablet directly in front of him. The large stone stele is about 1 foot high and 70 centimeters thick, and it is covered with traces, which are obviously many sins of ninjutsu in ordinary times. It seems that some clansmen are no longer satisfied with evaporating the lake water, and are already planning to grill stones. While complaining, he slowly froze. There were only 3 seals, but it took him 5 seconds. It can be fast, but it doesn't have to. Everyone saw it clearly. It was obviously a thunder seal in the end, but they didn't understand at all. In their cognition, there was only 3 seals of thunder ninjutsu. It wasn't until Uchiha Yan's palm came forward, and the crystal blue thunder and lightning bloomed like a blooming firework, slamming into the pitch-black stone monument, that they recognized that it was just a sea-level thunder ninjutsu. Lei Dun fireworks. Uchiha drank low in his heart. The thunder he used was a world away from when he was cultivating before. In the past, it was released according to the principles and usage tips on the ninjutsu scroll. And now, he was like a thunder ninjutsu grandmaster with millions of proficiency. Other than that, in the ninjutsu of Lei Dun, Hanabi, It is no exaggeration to say that he is the first person in the ninja world today. If that's all, others can also achieve a ninjutsu that can be achieved. The difference is that his thunderbolt fireworks are vastly more powerful, run faster, consume less chakra, and make seals easier. Ninjutsu, which originally had 7 seals, now only needs 3 seals. When the blue fireworks hit the stone steel, it suddenly burst open. With a loud rumbling sound, the stone tablet exploded to pieces. That stone steel, which had withstood countless times, finally could not bear the weight of life at this moment and passed away with a bang. Everyone looked at that scene in amazement, as if they saw some monster. If this ninjutsu was performed by the elite shinobi Uchiha Mirror, they would only applaud and praise a few words, by the way. But this happened to a 6-year-old child, and it seemed too much. Is this still the idle, foxy fake tiger Uchiha Hiko? This is the child of the great elders family that is circulating among some of their people who have lazily wasted themselves. It can't be. Is that stone tablet at the end of its life? How can it be destroyed by a small thunder ninjutsu? I was still practicing here yesterday. A certain Uchiha Naka shinobu preached, "Hey, Tion Sijuin, don't make me look down on how can you say something about a 7-year-old child? That bitterness just now is a coincidence. This time will not be a coincidence. How can it be so coincidental? Hey! Uchiha Hiko. Lord Hiko-sama seems to have awakened today, and suddenly became so powerful. Even a group of adults are amazed by Uchiha Hiko's ninjutsu. When he turned his head and looked at his fellow party members who participated in the test, he found that they were frozen in place like sculptures, not daring to move. Episode 4. The family tests are all for some children, so the content will not be too much and not too complicated, and the 2 items of kunai throwing and ninjutsu are enough. When Uchiha Yen finished showing his thunder, the remaining few Henin were so frightened that they didn't know how to tie the seal. It's really funny. After the morning test, someone forcibly pulled Uchiha and ran out of the family residence at noon. After the war, Konoha's economy was still recovering, and the 2 bigwigs of the Senju clan hung up, and on their deathbed, entrusted the village to a young ape flying sun. The 24-year-old ape flying to the sun, whether it is prestige or ability, is far from enough. It's not that he can't do it. Compared with the previous 2 Hokage, the gap between the villagers is relatively large. So, why take me to ninja school? Where did Lao Tzu go to waste his youth? Uchiha frowned and said dissatisfied. The old-fashioned Uchiha looked at Uchiha expressionlessly, then at the sign of the ninja school, and said, "Your youth has not yet come. Even if it comes, it should be there. I lose it. I've already asked Kagami to tell Hokage. The school has arranged a place for you to join the class, and get in place quickly. Then I tell you that this school is to engage in socialization. Social networking costs money, and my living expenses in the future will be doubled. Give you 3 times, go." Lying groove, so generous. Uchiha just wanted to cheat it, but I didn't expect it. This old guy is so rich, loss, just should have been 10 times. But having said that, he could not break the gentleman's covenant. Since you agree to go up, you definitely want to go up. Walking into the ninja school alone, I should have said hello from above, and soon the teacher came out to greet him. It was a middle-aged man who didn't look reliable. Wearing thick glasses, the person is thin as if he is going to float. "Are you Uchiha Hiko? Welcome." "Yes." "Okay, then Hiko-san, please follow me. I'll take you to your class." Uchiha didn't answer, just followed behind the teacher. The teaching building is small, passing through the corridor, and it seems that there are 4 classes in total. The skinny teacher stopped at the door of the one sign and knocked. Then, he walked in with Uchiha Hiko. Anyway, the classroom is also a group of little fart children, and there may be his future wife here, so he is not nervous, but very comfortable to scan. Most of the Uchiha family have black hair, and a very few are pale. And here, it's simply a South American hair salon. All kinds of strange hairstyles aside, just that hair color can be put together into a 7-color light. Wait a minute, how is that white-haired explosive head a little familiar? How is that black-haired little white face a little familiar? And that blonde airfield? Oh, that's a bit too much to say about a little girl of 6 or 7 years old, huh? Look at what, the little ghost of the Uchiha family, is it worshipping my Jiraiya-sama? The white-haired explosive head said proudly. Despite the teacher's presence, the blast head was restless. The Uchiha family is extremely recognizable. As long as it is a person, his eyes are not blind, he basically knows the family emblem. Quiet. Jiraiya. You get me out. The teacher said angrily. Others didn't know the skinny man in front of him, but he did. This is the current principal of the ninja school. To let the principal personally send it over. It's not an ordinary Uchiha. He still understands some of the 3 or 2 things of the big family. Jiraiya pulled his face and walked out very skillfully. The so-called A1 class is basically some people with identity talent, and their talents are not bad, and their family background is not bad. But if you want to compare with this Uchiha brought by the principal, it is still a little worse, and the only one in the class who can compare with it is the blonde princess. After throwing Jiraiya out, it was also considered to be a killing of chickens and monkeys, so the teacher stroked Uchiha Hiko's back and said with a smile, "Introduce yourself to everyone, new student." Uchiha ignored Fong Kai Jiraiya's trouble, and said expressionlessly, "I, Uchiha Yen, gone? It's gone." The teacher scratched his sideburns with a smile and said, "Yen-san, what dream do you have?" Hearing this, Uchiha Yen glanced up at the lecturer in surprise, and the figure of a certain teacher Wang inexplicably appeared in his mind. You, what dreams? This doesn't look like a good voice show. Is it dream blue? My dream is world peace. The most perfunctory answer of the 21st century. However, this comes from the most perfunctory answer of the 21st century, which happens to be the best statement in the ninja world and ninja school. Some people say that dreams do not distinguish between great and low, but at the moment, something has changed. In this classroom, more than 50% of the imps dream of being a Hokage. Even if they are not Hokage, they want to be powerful people in front of Hokage. The brains are rusty. This suddenly appeared a world peace, and its concept was magnificent. Just saying these 4 words gives people an imposing feeling. You know, not long before the war, the rest charm was drawn at a heavy price. This kind of dream is simply divine. Uchiha Hiko's indifferent expression, coupled with his psychology and temperament far stronger than theirs, made them forget for a while to think about the feasibility of this dream. If Zilai also said such a thing, I am afraid that it would only cause everyone to laugh. That's awesome. Hikosan can have such a big dream. I really want to make friends with him. He looks very strong. I'll talk to him later after class. That person looks serious. I'm not enough. Listening to the voice in the audience, Uchiha was a little relieved. The little ghosts of this era are still positive in their thinking, unlike a certain period of peace, when they are full of food and drink and want to mate. Hiko-san, it seems that you are very popular, so you go and sit over there first. Following the teacher's pointing, that position, and nothing else, was the back row of the blonde-haired princess. The classrooms are divided into steps, so you don't have to worry too much about height. As long as your eyesight is healthy, even sitting in the back row is no problem. Besides, at this age, as long as it is not semi-crippled, the height is similar. Sitting in his seat, he had the textbook that had been prepared for him, but he still used to look out the window first. Not far from the window is the old playground, and at this time, the old playground has been renovated, and the foundation has been laid, and it looks like it is going to be built. It's also right that the war is over. Young women on the streets are holding up their bellies, and the baby boom after the war is natural. It can also be seen that Konoha's policy is to expand the number of troops. Episode 5. Letting Uchiha sit behind Senju is also thanks to the school teacher daring to arrange. It doesn't really matter. The important thing is that when Uchiha opened the textbook, what he saw almost didn't make him turn his back. This is actually a function. I penetrate. What about the good first grade textbook? Lao Tzu really knelt. Now he understood why so many people were not suitable to be ninjas. This first level is stuck. There is no background in the civilian family, and even chakra cannot touch this level. Maybe those who can't pass it say that they hate ninjas. What a Chadora, T. polyphenol. In this world with ridiculously high mortality rates, who doesn't want to have some self-preservation ability? Above, we are talking about civilian families. The ninja family is a different story. Start one step higher than others. So, whoever loves to learn this thing, learns. Freed from the shackles of thoughts, Uchiha Hiko's gaze began to drift around. His table mate is a critic. The figure is developed horizontally, not very old, but quite chic. There was also a big food written on his clothes, and he remembered that the Akimichi family liked this hand. He didn't say he was humble because he was fat, but because obviously the teacher's eyes noticed him, and he was stealing snacks. Just like elementary school students, secretly grabbing a handful of potato chips, taking advantage of the teacher's board book, immediately stuffing them into their mouths, pretending to be listening to the class. He didn't dare to chew out loud in his mouth, but he didn't know that his big faceplate was bulging into a large watermelon. Come, Akimichi Gueta-san, you will answer. The teacher finally couldn't help but roll call. Suddenly being named, Akimichi Guetai jumped up as if he had been clicked, but he couldn't open his mouth, and as soon as he opened his mouth, he was exposed. Takata Akimichi, why don't you speak? The teacher asked, is this question on Chakra's power technique to increase shuriken hit rate and flight speed difficult? Young children still don't know what it means to solve the siege. Even if they usually play better playmates, they are now laughing at his humility. Seeing that Akimichi Takata was already blushing with shame and his fragile spirit was about to collapse, Uchiha raised his hand. Uchiha Hiko, do you have something to say? At the mention of this newcomer, everyone in the classroom cast their eyes. Tsunade in the front row was a little curious. She thought that Hiko, as a Uchiha clan, would be proud when she inserted into this class, but she didn't expect to take the initiative to expose herself in the first class. This is not like the style of the Uchiha family. I saw that Uchiha stood up and answered the question with his actual actions. In fact, it is a problem of the intersection and acceleration of the parabola and the x-axis. Okay, you two sit down. The teacher was not too surprised by Uchiha Hiko's performance. After all, he was a child of the Uchiha family, and it was Uchiha who was personally brought in by the principal. How could it be a bad student? The two sat down and the teacher continued to lecture. Akimichi Takata silently handed the potato chips in the drawer to Uchiha Hiko. Thank you, he whispered. Uchiha waved his hand and refused the potato chips. I forgot to wash my hands before I came in. Next time. It is his habit to wash his hands before eating, and he will definitely not eat without washing his hands. Tsunade in the front row silently looked back again. Sitting in the front row, she could naturally hear a little sound from behind. She found that this Uchiha was a little different. The class ended quickly, and the penalty station walked in swaggering. He went straight to Uchiha Hiko. Hey! Boy, the Uncle Ben you just heard stood up. What do you say? Before Uchiha could answer, Akimichi Guetai spoke first. Jiraiya, you can't blame Hiko just now. It was your own teacher who wanted to make a noise to let you out. The little fat man's tone was somewhat provocative. Although Jiraiya is not Senjumori and not Hinata, he is quite active in the class, and honest people are afraid of this kind of person. It's none of your business, Akimichi. Give me a side, I'm going to teach this newcomer a lesson. Jiraiya laughed maniacally and rolled up his sleeves. As a result, before he could make a move, a heavy elbow blow came from behind. The power echoed in his cavity, and there was a muffled sound. Zilai, Yumi, stay away from me. Tsunade clenched his fists and said angrily. Because Jiraiya was also in front of Uchiha Hiko's table, he naturally had to stand behind Tsunade's chair. With pain in his back, Jiraiya jumped to the aisle with a grin. Hey. Tsunade, this guy is Uchiha's, can't I help you teach him a lesson? I don't have your boring thoughts, naive, huh? He was also struck by lightning. Childishness is often a word that makes a man fry. Although he is still a boy now, he is still hit, not lightly. Hey. Big snake pill. You. Jiraiya plans to give up Tsunade and find his best friend to heal his psychological trauma. However, the big snake pill over there had a poker face, and his gaze was not in focus at all. At this time, Uchiha Yen smiled and got up to stare into Jiraiya's eyes. I like peace, I don't like fighting, huh? Are you a coward afraid of Uncle Ben? If you are willing to apologize to me, then I will forgive you. I like peace, I don't like fighting, but that doesn't mean I can be provoked. So you accepted Uncle Ben's challenge? Before the 8 characters are brushed off, call yourself uncle, let's go, practice on the playground. If it was Uchiha Yen yesterday, he would definitely not dare to be so arrogant. He was just a sentient being who had learned 2 C-level ninjutsu at the age of 6. But today's Uchiha is different, and the immaterial wealth obtained from the dog system is enough to improve him a lot. The dry goods in the brain are the confidence to speak. The technology at hand is the pillar of support. And saw that the 2 came to the playground. Because it was a weekday, there was no construction here, only some unfinished foundations. The 2 stood opposite each other, watching the lively classmates form a circle. Sure enough, watching the lively work is also a common disease in the other world. Yen, or I'd better call the teacher, I'm also very powerful, I can't beat him. Mrs. Chomichi reminded him with a conscience. However, Uchiha just waved his hand. Don't care, I won't knock out his baby teeth today, and tomorrow he will beat Lai. Hey! Zilai also heard it, a little angry. Remember the seal of reconciliation. Oh, the seal of reconciliation. I am a sword, I want to pierce you. Yes, you. What? How dare you scold me? Aya. Jiraiya, who was hairy, didn't care about the rules, and rushed towards Uchiha with a roar. The fist in his hand was bound to slam into Uchiha Hiko's face. Episode 6. Amazingly, Jiraiya's fist actually directly penetrated Uchiha Hiko's head. No matter how powerful the fist is, it can't be like this, right, doppelganger? Far away in the classroom, Orochimaru muttered without looking at the lively one. It is not surprising that the one class used the doppelganger technique, but the excellent thing is that it can perform a doppelganger miraculously in actual combat. This is just an ordinary doppelganger, not a shadow doppelganger. The practicality of the avatar technique is very poor, and it is not easy to use an ordinary avatar to this extent. I saw that when Jiraiya's fist hit the doppelganger, before he could react, a fist rushed out from the dead corner of his line of sight. His essence was actually hidden in the shadow of the doppelganger. Jiraiya's jaw was firmly punched, as if he had been thrown over the shoulder, and flew 10 meters away. Appeared. The legendary face break. Uchiha Yen did not take advantage of the victory to pursue. After all, Jiraiya is still a child, let him go. Ah. It hurts. Deaf to Uncle Ben. Jiraiya got up and touched his face. The bruises made him grinning beyond recognition, and it was very painful. However, who is Jiraiya? How could he give up his dignity because of this pain? A person's character can be seen from his childhood. He did not feel hatred because of this, just bruised, and his power was inferior. The skill is not as good as the people, but he is not willing to bow down. Come again, I was careless just now, this time I'm serious. I'm going to knock you down, whatever. Seeing Uchiha fighting in response, Jiraiya clenched his fists, put the pain aside, and was preoccupied with how to fight back. He did not rush up this time, so as not to be tricked again. He is not in a hurry, others are still in a hurry. The class is about to start. If it is not over, the teacher will come over later. Will be a military training. Jiraiya. It's all here, don't bother. It's not a big deal to see the excitement. Yes, Jiraiya, didn't you just say that you were going to knock Uchiha down? Up, who instigates who grandson? After all, he does not have the heart of the later life, and now he still can't stand the coaxing. A group of people called to him, and his hands and feet were out of control. Uchiha looked at Jiraiya, who rushed over again, no longer delayed, and doubled hands. The big snake pill in the distant classroom noticed this detail and immediately jumped out of the window. After the analysis, ninjutsu became handy, and even the magic seal was simplified. The 3 seals were completed in a second, and then he moved forward with one hand. Chakra performed a change in the nature of the thunder attribute, and generated a thunder and lightning. The blooming thunder and lightning are like fireworks, and like a net that encompasses heaven and earth, it blooms in an instant. It is also the fish in the net. This unexpected ninjutsu, among the students of the entire ninja school, no one can dodge. However, just when the lightning was about to hit Jiraiya, an earthen wall suddenly rose. The earthen wall also took this blow for Jiraiya. Otherwise, at this time, Zillai is already covered in smoke. Uchiha looked sideways with interest, and saw that Orochimaru was panting and forming the earth seal, and the earth wall was his ninjutsu. Do you want to kill Jiraiya? Orochimaru gasped. Orochimaru did not know that in the morning test of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Hiko's thunder instantly destroyed the huge stone steel. And just now, the immature earth flow wall perfectly blocked the thunder. What does it mean in the middle? Uchiha smiled and did not answer Orochimaru. At this moment, the class bell rang, and everyone hurried back to the classroom. Only Orochimaru and Jiraiya remained on the playground. Zillai also wiped the blood on his face, and grinned in pain. Big snake pill, thank you. I didn't expect that he could actually use Lei Duan. I underestimated him. Orochimaru didn't answer Jiraiya at the first time. He was still thinking about the scene just now. As a person who likes to think, he loves thinking very much. There's nothing wrong with that. Often a question raised by the teacher in class, he will think of a lot: life reality, combat simulation, desperate counterattack, and so on. He thought about it, from the moment Uchiha entered the classroom today, to the battle just now. That person. He won't have a killing heart for Jiraiya. Suddenly, he understood something. Could it be that he even counted my actions and knew that I would help Jiraiya, so he delayed Lei Duan's release time? Most of the thunderbolts are about speed. It is impossible for that person to condense chakra with one hand after the seal is completed, and let the thunder and lightning dance at his fingertips. At the same time, the release speed of thunder and lightning was so fast, definitely faster than his earth flow wall. In theory, he jumped from the classroom window and would never be able to catch up, but he caught up anyway. Or rather, that person's target is not Jiraiya, but the soil flow wall that is specifically waiting for him. That person. I didn't want to kill Jiraiya with ninjutsu. Everything is in his calculations. Orochimaru turned his head in shock and looked at the back of the man who had jumped into the classroom from the window and branded it in his mind. Hey, Orochimaru, why are you trembling with fear? You see, Uncle Ben is all right if he is beaten. Zillai also forced to nag. Hearing this, the big snake pill pushed Jiraiya away with a bored look, and said coldly, "Fool, don't do it against him in the future. If he wants to hurt you, you are dead by now. Hee, don't you have a soil escape? You can help me." The big snake pill looked at Zillai. His eyes were indifferent. "You brainless fellow, go and practice to Dao yourself, huh?" I don't like Tuduan, I like fire." When the words fell, the big snake pill had already turned and left, only leaving one sentence: "I don't like fire, huh? Are you looking down on Huaduo? You stinky poker face." Jiraiya cursed and ran to the classroom with Orochimaru, but they were one step late. The teacher had already walked in with the bell. The big snake pill made a report, and the teacher saw that it was an excellent student, so he gave a step down. "Big snake pill, why did you come in?" "I just had a stomachache, and now it's much better." "Well, pay attention to your body." "Yes." Orochimaru smoothly returned to the classroom and sat back in his seat. Immediately after that, Zillai also ran to the door with half a wounded face. "Stop. Jiraiya. What did you do again?" The teacher was immediately displeased. I'm having diarrhea, just went to deal with it." "You have diarrhea too?" The teacher looked at the injury on Jiraiya's face. "Did you fall into the toilet?" Yes, accidentally fell." "The face fell in first?" Episode 7. The teacher's self-righteous humor did not enliven the atmosphere of the classroom. He stood on the podium and looked at them, and always felt that something was wrong with today's group. These people are still young and can't hide things in their hearts. The teacher looked at it with years of experience and knew that the problem appeared in the new student Uchiha Hiko. In connection with the injuries on Jiraiya's face, it is not difficult to guess that these two people have a conflict. During the last class, there was a lot of noise, and the situation was obvious. However, when you enter a ninja school, fights are unavoidable. Usually I also jump around, but if I suffer a loss today, I should just buy a lesson. More is better than less. The teacher did not pursue. He continued his lessons. But I didn't know that the students in the audience had already lost their gods. What did they see just now? Ninjutsu. Thunder ninjutsu. When I entered a ninja school, I wanted to learn a few ninjutsu and go out and become an excellent ninja. But so far, some of them have not even mastered the three-body technique. But Uchiha Yen directly cast the thunder ninjutsu just now. Although this is an elite class, it does not mean that everyone is a child of the family. In addition to a few large and small families with icons, more than 2/3 of the remaining ones are dark horses killed by the masses. No matter how black the black horse is, he also envies the heavenly horse. As a member of the elite class, this gap is really not ordinarily big. While everyone is envious, they also look lost, and the psychological blow caused by that gap is not something that can be recovered in a day or two. All this has nothing to do with Uchiha Hiko. Even if it does, it doesn't matter. In this 3-foot land, the strong have the right to mate. Oh no, the strong have the right to speak. System, you can analyze everything yesterday. I suddenly have an idea. Can you analyze it for me? In the second class, Uchiha began to pretend to sleep. He began to communicate with the system internally. Back to the host, do you parse ideas? Saying that, the system analysis bar was also displayed, and the idea was temporarily made into a text icon. No, I mean, can you parse my body? I found that my body is too weak. To fight with Jiraiya, you have to rely on ninjutsu, which is too tasteless. The main reason is that there is less physical exercise, and in terms of physical skills, it may not be the opponent of the current Jiraiya. Of course, what I want to know is, what state am I during the parsing process? Back to the host, your current state will not be affected in any way until parsing is complete. For example, if you have previously analyzed, laid-done fireworks, you can still use laid-done fireworks during the process. And after the analysis is completed, you will get the analysis results. I see. Host, does it parse your body? Yes. Ding dong. Remind the host that your body data has begun to parse. It takes time. 7 days. This may be the first person who has used the system once and dared to joke about his body. However, the analysis is the analysis, and it is not the dissection. Besides, if you die, you die. Count the balls. Oh, it seems that these 7 days have to wait slowly. The wait was enduring, and by the 5th day, he couldn't bear it. Because his body was not strong enough, he began to train hard. This effort has degrees. As long as he feels tired, he immediately sits down and rests for half an hour. Can't hold the limit of the body, cultivate desperately, that will leave dark wounds to the body. Anyway, there is no one to grab food with him, so what are you doing? To sum up, I can't make Xiaoya tired. Anyway, the weekend is off, and he doesn't go to work and doesn't. 996. Yuya is over. Others cultivate the body, he cultivates the mood. Just as he was finishing the second set of push-ups and sitting next to him to drink water, he suddenly heard a movement not far away. From a distance, you can hear who is knocking on the wooden fish, and if you listen carefully, you can tell that it is cutting a wooden stake with an iron tool. This iron should not be too thick and the steel content should not be less, otherwise it will not have such a proper sound. After resting, Uchiha walked over curiously to take a look. This cultivation field is relatively remote, and he also took advantage of the remoteness to cultivate here. After all, a ninja, practice for 10 minutes and rest for half an hour. This pass out to lose face. Can't be discovered. Pulling away the leaves, he saw a white-haired boy about his age. It's not the kind of Jiraiya, and Jiraiya is that humble, making his hairstyle look like a ghost. The person in front of him, whether aesthetic or temperamental, is like the white-haired male partner in the comics. Pay attention to a cool word. His first reaction when he saw this person from behind appeared in his mind, and the name Chimuwu Kai appeared in his mind. But apparently in this era, Chimuwu Kai is not even an egg. So he went around and went to the side and found that the man was not wearing a mask. A good person without a mask. He walked out and asked, "Who are you?" Hearing the sound, the white hair stopped, turned around, and replied after being stunned for 2 seconds, "I am Kiki Shua Shigeru. Are you Uchiha Yen of Class A1? I saw you compete with Orochimaru Kuin that day, very powerful. But I will definitely surpass you." Kiki Shuamao, Konoha White Fang. Although he has not changed his baby teeth yet, this legendary man can catch him. After crossing over, he also wanted to meet those well-known ninjas, but the population of Konoha village was larger than expected, and because of the war, he did not dare to wander around the village casually. Now, it's the first time I've seen Kimu Shuamao. Although it is a bit abrupt to ask people, "Who are you?" when you open your mouth, between men, pay attention to the first impression of a hammer. You said you saw me fighting with Orochimaru. When did I have a fight with Orochimaru? 5 days ago, because I saw your strength, I would be working hard to cultivate here every day. Chimu Shuamao replied honestly, 5 days ago. Is it a good appointment with Jiraiya? The big snake pill is just a persuasion. Why did one of the parties be ignored? Why is it difficult for white hair? Uchiha looked at the broken sword in Kiki Shuamao's hand, and the stake in front of him. The jujube stake with a diameter of 30 centimeters had almost been cut off by the short sword in his hand. A short sword, not a long sword, not a heavy sword. To use that thing to cut a jujube stake, you must first have a hand that does not blister blood, and those who do not believe can try it. Anyway, Chimu Shuamao's hands were wrapped in gauze. What was the situation? He didn't know, and he didn't dare to ask. Being able to use a short sword to cut a jujube stake until it is broken is called hard work. Penetrate. Ruthless. Episode 8. What? Actually, I originally had a discussion with Zilai, and the big snake pill was just persuading, and then we just fought casually. That is, you two are not using your full strength? Yes, point to point. You guys are so strong. It seems that I am going to work harder. Hehe, that's what you want. Train. Give death training. On that day, Chimu Shuamao finally remembered the fear of being dominated by Class A. 2 days later, the auspicious time has come, and the coffin is opened for an autopsy. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host. This analysis lasted 7 days and has been completed. In an instant, Uchiha felt a strange power flowing through his body. Unlike the last time he analyzed laid-done ninjutsu, this time he analyzed his own body. The feeling is the most intuitive. In a word, comfort. Once he got used to the feeling, he looked at the results. The strength seems to have not changed. The body has not changed into a muscular demon like the Super Saiyan, and the feeling has not changed much. Why did I have a little strange feeling just now? Wait a minute. Uchiha looked at himself in the mirror, not that he was a little handsome today. Instead, after the analysis system was handed over, a 3D meridian diagram appeared in his mind, and when he looked at himself in the mirror image and the diagram were just combined. In the brain of the blue meridian image, a red stroke appears, the Sharingan. This is? Back to the host. This system analyzes your body and tailors hundreds of ways to improve yourself. Ways to improve yourself, Uchiha nodded and muttered. Then his gaze moved down, from his brain to his torso, and finally stopped at the part that the man understood. This guy, can there be a way to improve? Like going to work early? I've endured it for 6 years. I saw that as he focused his attention, a red stroke also appeared in that part, indescribable. He looked at the indescribable and a lot of information appeared in his mind. Indescribable. Bury the indescribable in the hot sand for 30 minutes, and insist on 10 years to obtain the ability to not be bad. Indescribable. By boxing double yellow eggs, insisting on 10 minutes a day for 5 years, you can get unlimited firepower. Indescribable. Karma, understand? Made, is this a human thing? Farewell, farewell. In desperation, he returned to the topic riding wheel eyes. On the way to open the eyes of the chakra, it turns out that you don't have to die to do it. Uchiha muttered. The host, the Sharingan is one of the physical ability manifestations of the Uchiha family. Whether it is turned on or not does not interfere with its actual existence, so it has nothing to do with the dead and undead. Well, let me Kong have any eye-opening methods, find the easiest way to try. With that, his gaze shifted upwards again. As the system image pops up the riding wheel eye callout, a large number of graphic information boxes are displayed in front of you. 1. Look directly at the sun for 3 hours every day to ensure that the chakra eye is opened within 7 days. Each Uchiha's physique is different. This method is only applicable to the host himself. Looking directly at the harsh sunlight can temper the host's eye as a whole, and to a certain extent, the chakra eye will automatically open. 3 hours? Especially 6 hours against the sun, Lao Tzu died suddenly. Next, 2. Strengthen physical fitness. The host's own spiritual energy is not weak. The human body as a whole need yin and yang balance. Now the weak body limits the host's spiritual energy. As long as the physical fitness is improved, the spiritual energy can be fully exerted to automatically open the chakra eye. Liver again? Next. Uchiha swiped the message to the left with a look of displeasure. 3. Recall fear. Fear is a very powerful catalyst for humans. If the host's inner fear is insufficient, this system can help the host create nightmares. I'm gone. Next. How can you scare yourself specifically? 4. Do what the host is most resistant to. 5. Talk about a sad love. 6. According to the meridian route given by this system, effectively run mental energy to stimulate the brain, thereby secreting special chakra, and the special chakra is reflected in the optic nerve to change the eyes, and you can open the chakra eye. Originally, in his understanding, the opening of the chakra eyes was accompanied by violent mental stimulation, and the embodiment was a dead person or something. But now the system gives hundreds of ways to open eyes, and 99 of them do not require a dead person. Or rather, it doesn't matter to everyone else. Opening your eyes is a one's business. Science opens its eyes. I choose the 6th article, if nothing else, just auspicious 6 or 6 Doshun. Uchiha quickly sat down and followed the way given in the 6th article of the system, running the spiritual energy according to the meridian map and stimulating the brain. Spiritual energy is the import, and the brain secretion is the outlet, thus forming an energy supply chain. The brain feeds back the special chakra of the Uchiha family, and this special chakra is reflected in the visual nerve that changes the eyes, that is, pupil power, that is, eye-opening. The scientific approach is often the pursuit of efficiency. When Uchiha opened his eyes again, his originally dark eyes turned crystal red. The color of Yuguyu's riding wheel eyes is not so deep, and the eyes are like red crystals, which is very good looking. This is an eye-opener, and I feel a little trance. Muttered Uchiha Hiko. He does not beg to open his eyes is 2 hooks of jade and 3 hooks of jade. You don't see. Those who use too much force when opening their eyes. What had they experienced? What ended up? Step by step and slow as king. System, open the properties panel to Xiaoya to celebrate. Host, will show you the personal panel. Host, Uchiha Hiko. Age, 6 years old. Blood succession boundary, riding wheel eyes. Chakra level, Shimotomi. Body strength, Shinobi. Spirit level, Naka Shinobi. Learned Ninjutsu. Fire done, how fireball technique. Thunder done, fireworks. Above. Uchiha looked at the virtual panel and nodded. I practiced blindly a few times during this time, but I didn't expect chakra and physical strength to endure. Laozi is really a genius. Chakra is the lower ninja level. This level is just the average line compared down the positioning level. After all, some monsters, when they are not qualified to be under the ninja, chakra has already surpassed some anemia upper ninja. The body strength rating is the same as above. There are also tanks and crispy skins in the ninja, and his strength is also the level of positioning compared to the average line. To be honest, now at his level, it is absolutely a second to apply for early graduation directly. The rating of the system is the standard of the standard. Whether there is a difference between the assessment methods in war years and peacetime, he does not know. But it won't directly let him fight with a regular middle ninja, right? Then it's not called Shinobu graduation, that's called the Zonin assessment. Hiko. Yen is inside, hurry up and give me out. In front of the house, an old man called Uchiha Hiko, who was in the head, frowned, kicked open the door, and replied, "What the hell?" urged the old man. That old man was none other than the great elder of Uchiha, his cheap old man. "Humph, you come to me." The old man snorted coldly and said, "Hurry up, what for?" Uchiha was puzzled. The usual old man would not be like this, he would only let him do something. For example, where you go and what you do, not how you come. Kagami told me that Sarutobi Hinata Kid plans to recruit a group of students at the ninja school. The old man said bluntly, reaching out and grabbing Uchiha Hiko's arm firmly. Ape Flying Sun Chopper intends to take apprentices? A few hundred? He has a relationship with me when he accepts students. Stop. Sarutobi Hinata is the third generation of Hokage designated by the ancestors, and if he becomes his disciple, it will be of great benefit to our Uchiha clan. The great elder said, "This is clearly the ancient kind of arrangement." Uchiha forcefully shook away the great elder's hand. "Dry the chicken feathers. That man looks like an ape, he's happy to accept me, and I'm not happy to be his student." Hiko. How can you take people by their appearance? Then why don't you find you an old companion from the Akimichi clan? The great elder committed high blood pressure. The old man gasped for a few breaths, and then said seriously, "Yen, although you are still young, there are some things I have to tell you. It is really not easy for our clan to get to this point. The war outside and the civil war in the clan have hurt us too much. I don't know if it's the destiny of heaven, or if someone has already calculated it. At this time, Ape Fei-ri is still too junior to hold power, and I can conclude that he will take the girl from the Senja clan in your class and use it to gain the support of more people. If you also join his disciple, then he can also get the full support of our Uchiha clan, and at the same time, we will also get feedback from the Hokage in the future. Isn't it beautiful? So, whether you like that person or not, you have to do it for the family. What if people just want to educate their children and grandchildren on behalf of the teachers who died in the enemy?" Uchiha retorted. The great elder paused and almost slapped the iron sand palm on Uchiha Hiko's braincase. Episode 9. You stinky boy. You are going to off the old man. I entered the ninja school according to your arrangement. I can't always follow the path you chose for me. I have my own ninja way. You are Hiko of the Uchiha clan. Then I'll commit suicide and reincarnate. Don't. Hiko, just beg you as an old man, for the sake of the family, you will become a disciple of Ape Flying Sun. In fact, that person is also a very good ninja. You become his student, and you will definitely become a ninja in the Megatron ninja world in the future. If the old man is hard and can't do it, he will come soft, which is really difficult. Why do people of this age like this set? Uchiha Yen couldn't help it, so he replied, if the Ape Flying Sun wants to choose a disciple, he must have chosen it himself a long time ago, and he has a male relationship with me. Hearing that the momentum was improving, the great elder immediately said, no, he himself has to choose the rules. As long as you win the first place in the school, he has to choose you. Got it. This is what exhortation means. Now the first place in the class is Big Snake Pill, which can be described as an all-rounder. To let him learn theoretical and cultural knowledge, he may not have learned the Big Snake Pill. The main thing is laziness. The brain is fine, just smart and not to the book. If he wants to get a good grade, it is very simple. He now opens the chakra eye, and he only needs to imitate the answer of the Big Snake Pill when he takes the exam. Theory and culture are equally divided, then as long as he defeats the Big Snake Pill in the practical class, he is the first in the comprehensive. When first, it's that simple. Okay, I'll continue to do what you say this time, but when the time comes, Ape Fei-ri will choose someone else, but it doesn't matter to me. The old man nodded heavily. Then what do you kid think every day? You don't want a ninja like Sarutobi to be your instructor, you want to fart all day? Now Lao Tzu is holding on, and when Lao Tzu dies later, see what the people in the clan treat you. Old man, this is giving you the capital to make your future survival. Okay, I understand your great kindness. The great elder glared at Uchiha Hiko, then come with me. Where to? Just follow me. The great elder walked in front, followed by Uchiha Hiko. He didn't think much about it. A moment later, the two entered the scroll room of the Uchiha clan under the care of the great elder. The room was dark, and the elder lit candles. Then said leisurely, this place is the important land of my clan. With your seniority, you do not have access permission. Today is an exception, you can't pass it on, understand? Uchiha looked at the scroll all over the room. This was not the first time he had come, and it was a good way to hide his curiosity. I understand. Very good. The great elder stroked his beard, pulled out a scroll from the bookshelf with a solemn look, and said, I don't know the mechanism of the village. You know, ninjutsu secrets have long been secrets, but each family still has its own thing to adhere to. The great elder provoked Uchiha Hiko's interest very well. He wondered what the scroll in the great elder's hand was. The first few times I sneaked into the scroll room, I didn't care about the classification over there, just thinking about powerful ninjutsu. So, what's that? The great elder handed the scroll to Uchiha Hiko. This is the chakra alchemy of our clan. Chakrati alchemy? Uchiha opened the scroll half-heartedly and read as he looked up, Ichiki chakra know-how. But I remember the teacher in the school said that chakra's refining method is the same, and the family gave it to me before, depending on the potential of the human body. No, our clan has been passed down for many years, and our ancestors have long been traced back to the most basic chakra of ninjas, which is the wealth accumulated by our clan over the generations, and it is definitely more effective than ordinary chakra refining methods. The Akimichi clan, the Yamanaka clan, and the Nara clan also have their families, otherwise why do you think the clan is called a family? But there are too immature compared to ours. Uchiha ignored the words of the great elder. He looked at the scroll with full attention, and it was not difficult to find that this ancestor's codex really had something. A generation must always leave something behind, especially the Uchiha family. And here, what is recorded is the treasure left by dozens of generations. Yen, I will make an exception for you to take this scroll out once. The time limit is 1 day, and it will be returned to me in the family hall tomorrow. The great elder said. Hearing this, Uchiha immediately nodded. Okay, I will definitely return it tomorrow. There you go. Holding the scroll, he quickly left the secret room and returned to his house. Placing the chakra trick scroll flat on the table, he did not rush to practice. The content on this scroll, summed up as a key point, is meditation. The meditation method planned a clear direction of cultivation, that is, the special chakra in the mouth of the second generation Musenju. This method corresponds to the blood succession limit of the Uchiha clan, and there are many people in the clan who have opened the kaleidoscope before. I am afraid it is related to this law. During the period of family civil unrest, kaleidoscope eye-openers came out frequently, which was definitely the peak period of Uchiha. There are many talents, but it is a pity that most of them died in the civil war. In the eyes of many people, the Uchiha family is a family that bears hatred, and they think that Sharingan is the product of hatred. In fact, if there is love, there will be hate, and when you lose your beloved, that pain will stimulate the brain of Uchiha and produce a special chakra, which is the key to the chakra. This is only the basis of the blood succession limit of the Uchiha clan. The kaleidoscope riding wheel eye is not something that can be opened after suffering. That requires talent. And this chakra's cultivation know-how is to cultivate talent. Cultivation at an early age is best. Through meditation, it continuously improves mental energy to feed back to the brain, and practicing this method, in addition to being related to the Sharingan, will also passively improve other aspects of Uchiha ninja. The most distinctive performance is the young and old. It's no wonder that the Uchiha family has a lot of geniuses. However, because the above content, after the records of generations of people with different hearts, has long become obscure, the principle of cultivation is originally very profound, and as a result, different people have different experiences, and then record it for a person in the future to see. I am afraid that it will be schizophrenic. Staying in a martial arts drama is to go crazy. System, parse the scroll in front of me for me. Ding dong, prompt the host. Uchiha Chakra Alchemy begins to analyze. It takes time. 3 hours. 3 hours, much faster than the previous analysis of sea-level ninjutsu. But this does not mean that this chakra refining secret method is weaker than lay-done ninjutsu. In Uchiha Hiko's opinion, this kind of fundamental thing is more important than the superficial ninjutsu. 3 hours. In the absence of convenient entertainment, it seems so long. Finally, ding dong, parsing complete. Hearing this voice, he immediately perked up. Bring up the system panel and view the analysis results. Scroll, Uchiha Chakra Alchemy, 17 loopholes found, 28 redundant discoveries, and 6 drawbacks. Analyze the vulnerability and provide you with 124 patching solutions. Please pay attention to view. Analysis of drawbacks completed, and provide you with 109 purification schemes. Please pay attention to view. The redundant part of the parsing has been completed, and it has been simplified. Among them, the pain stimulation method is a major danger item, and it has been directly deleted. Uchiha Yen in the room showed a smile. He had just flipped through the scroll no less than 80 times. This scroll retains the different ideas and views of the ancestors, and the descendants classify and sort it out. For fear of missing the ancestors' last training, they have not changed it, and if you want to master it, the difficulty is no less than S-level ninjutsu. The key is precisely these mistakes of the predecessors, raw and gnawing. I am afraid that chakra will bleed and die violently. Now, with the help of the system, those problems have been completely eliminated, and most of the content of this reel has been optimized and improved. It's a stroke of genius. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is the most powerful chakra refining technique in the entire ninja world. System, configure the optimal plan, merge into a complete secret method. Ding tone, we're screening the best match for you. Ding dong, excerpt number 011, 103 scheme, has been synthesized to complete the secret method. Episode 10, this new complete version of the cultivation secret, I will rename it Book of Uchiha. The system you helped me back up. Backup completed. He had the system back up, rather than recording with a pen, because he didn't want anyone else to see it. This perfect cultivation method must not be leaked. Otherwise, it would be a disaster. Similarly, he will not change half a word of this scroll, and will send it back tomorrow intact. Reaching out and closing the scroll, he sat aside, closing his eyes and watching the perfect cultivation method backed up by the system in his heart. The special chakra of the relevant blood succession limit, but also did not forget the basic chakra of the ninja. The combination of the two is definitely the most suitable for Uchiha's cultivation method. Chakra's energy is different from the energy of other worlds. and the energy of some worlds needs to go through weekly operations, impact meridians, and so on to improve oneself. Chakra is different. Before this cultivation secret, a ninja's chakra is linked to his own physique. Now with this tailor-made cultivation secret, he doesn't say that he will become the kind of Chatonla that surpasses the Thousand Hands and Vortex clan, but at least there will be no shortage of lawn in the future. Without further ado, try it yourself. Sit cross-kneeled, look at your nose and nose. Chakra is the spiritual energy accumulated by physical energy and practice, taken in by the 130 trillion cells of the body. His spiritual energy was originally stronger than his peers, but because his body was small, the amount of physical energy he could ingest was far from enough, which led to his current mediocre amount of chakra. But now, according to the cultivation tips in this secret method, the stored chakra is run to a specific acupoint and discharged. Chakra's large amount of leakage caused him to surround himself with light blue chi, and this state only lasted for a few seconds. After all, a ninja school student could not store much chakra in his body. When the original chakra was gone, I instantly felt dizzy and tired. Uchiha Yen gritted his teeth, forced his discomfort, and began refining a new chakra according to the cultivation tips on the Book of Uchiha. Soon, the cells all over the body produced a tingling feeling, and the newborn body energy was refined. He observed this newborn and scarce body energy, and suddenly noticed a trace of abnormality. The quality of this new student seems to be much higher than before. While being surprised, he fused it with spiritual energy, which produced a human body energy, called chakra. The new chakra shows a clear blue color, which is much richer than the previous light blue chakra. The color doesn't tell the whole story, but when he perceives his new chakra, he can't help but be surprised. This chakra is more than 3 times higher in quality than before. In the ninja world, chakra is not only about magnitude, but also about quality. The chakra of the tailed beast is far beyond the chakra of ordinary ninjas, whether it is quality or quantity, and the chakra of the elite ninja is also far beyond the second-rate ninja. When the quality of chakra, which is the foundation of a ninja, is far ahead, then, with the same how fireball technique, he can steadily suppress the opponent's how fireball technique. Similarly, in terms of ninjutsu attribute restraint, it is well known that water and fire, but when the quality of the chakra of the fire ninja is much higher than that of the water ninja, then this restraint relationship is vulnerable, and even has to be reversed. Cool. It seems that there is no trip with the old man in vain. Uchiha sighed. After tasting the sweetness, he couldn't wait to refine the full state of chakra now, but his young body was already exhausted, so he could only rest for a while and come back tomorrow morning. Following, Dongfang will be white, and Uchiha will wake up from the dream. One of the benefits of being young is that the body recovers quickly. He immediately uncovered the quilt, sat cross-kneeled, and refined chakra in the same way as last night. In just half an hour's work, he was as pale as jade, and his eyebrows were full of vitality. Phew. This feeling, so cool. Looking out the window, it was almost school time. But today, I agreed with the great elder to meet in the family hall, and send a shadow doppelganger to the class. After quickly finishing breakfast, he took the scroll and walked towards the meeting hall of the Uchiha clan. When he arrived, he found that in addition to the great elder, there were several other faces here. The patriarch, as well as the first person in the family, Uchiha Kagami, are also here. Here it comes. The patriarch of the Wooden One spoke. To be honest, he really didn't like this patriarch, and as a patriarch, he did nothing, which was tantamount to waste. Uchiha nodded perfunctorily, and then handed the scroll in his hand back to the great elder in public. Hiko, just sit in the middle. The great elder said solemnly. Hearing this, he didn't care, so he sat down in the center of the hall with such a big grin. I think that all of you will gather here in a hurry, and there will be a high opinion. Uchiha Hiko. Patriarch Mun suddenly shouted. Uchiha Hiko, do you know your last name and what it means? Yes, our Uchiha clan is one of the founding families of Konoha village. It is also the first rich family in Konoha today. Good. The Mun clan elder praised. The Uchiha clan is the first Hao clan in Konoha. Therefore, the pride of our family must not be dusted, and in peacetime, the honor of the family automatically falls on the shoulders of your younger generation, and you are qualified and obliged to undertake this mission. Yes. Uchiha replied that what to say on such occasions was practiced when he was still a blue star. Just listening, Patriarch Mun continued, you, Uchiha Hiko, are the best winner in the family test, and you are also the person recognized by me and the elders, so your responsibility is even greater. You must abandon laziness from today and practice wholeheartedly for the honor of the family. The elders present, as well as the Uchiha Kagami of the ancestor Hokage-sama, will strictly guide you in training here. Do you know that this is a major family secret? Uchiha quickly lowered his head and responded, I see, thank you, very good. Very good. You're getting more and more like a ninja. Uchiha Hiko. The patriarch said, his gaze scanning the scroll in front of the great elder, you should have already pre-learned our clan's chakra cultivation secret method yesterday, so start practicing today. When the patriarch's words fell, the first elder on his left stood up and said, Uchiha Hiko, you have already read the chakra cultivation know-how of the clan, so what do you feel? It seems that this group is planning to join forces to become a teacher. Uchiha replied, it's obscure, it's hard to understand, but